This is not meant to be a review of the game in its current state. This is meant to be a video about how Bleach Rebirth of Souls, although it is not a good fighting game by any stretch of the word, it is definitely a good Bleach game, where most Bleach fans can find enjoyment in playing it. From there being a sizable roster of characters to choose from, ranging from most of the lieutenants and captains from Soul Society, as well as all of the high-ranking Espada, except he who shall not be named, as well as an okay amount of cosmetic options for each character. Not to mention, all variants of Ichigo are available to play, on top of Uryu and Chad are playable as well. Here is some footage for reference.
バカな、生きているはずがない。その姿は何だ。お前は誰だ。それが聞こえないのか。お前は誰だと聞いている。どうやら言葉が通じんらしいな。なんだと。ベスキスを完全にすり抜けた。今のは瞬歩じゃない、ソニートだ。近づくなよ、そこにいろ。できればこいつを近くで撃ちたくはない。ランサデル・レランパーグ。素手で。それがどうした。
なんだ。一度は消えかけたこいつの白道がまた。そしてこの冷圧、出血が収まってきてやがる。押し負ける。
悪いけど時間はかけてられねえ。一気に型をつけさせてもらうぜ。
一気に型をつけるだと。そいつは困るな。せっかくここまで楽しくなってきたのによ。できるだけ長引かせていこうぜおい。たまんねえな。てめえがなぜ復活できたのか。てめえがなぜ急激に強くなったのか。気になることは山ほどあるが、とりあえず今はどうでもいい。今はこの戦いを楽しもうぜ。こうでなきゃいけねえ。余裕だぜ。嘘だ。くだらねえ。下だ。甘いな。かかったな。これでしまいか。耐えろよ。甘いな。
構えろ。行くぞ。やれやれ、本当はお主とこの技で戦いとうはなかったんじゃがの。気をつけろよソイコン。この技はまだわしもうまく加減できんからの。なぜわしがこの技を今までお主に見せなかったかわかるか。それはこの技があまりに危険すぎるからじゃ。こんなバカな。ほうほうほうほう。そんなものか。そんなものか。ほうほう。そんなものか。まだまだじゃの。そこじゃ。そんなものか。やるの。そんなものか。舐められたものじゃ。ほうほう。舐められたものじゃ。舐められたものじゃ。舐められたものじゃ。そんなものか。舐められたものじゃ。そんなものか。舐められたものじゃ。そんなものか。やるの。ほうほう。そんなものか。残念じゃな。よけてみよ。どこを見ておる。避けきれるかの。ほうほう。舐められたものじゃ。
There is even more amazing fights that you can play in and see whilst playing the game. Furthermore, there are features such as ranked mode, private lobbies, decent story mode, and an offline modes to have fun in. Not to mention, the gameplay is exciting with each character having around 4-ish combos that they can perform, 2 of which you would have to look up tutorials for, but I digress. Although for each of these good features that I mentioned, there exists some big buts about each of them. Well, except for the animations, music, vibe, and aesthetic, since that is 10 out of 10 and on point throughout. So with that, let's start. First, the character roster and fighting gameplay. Now yes, the character roster is decent, with each character having unique abilities, animations, unique transformation theme songs, and having different styles of play. But the gameplay in terms of combos from each character can really just be dumbed down to R1 for grab, hitting square 4 times, double tap X, then block. And on Xbox, RB, hitting X 4 times and double tap A, again, blocking as well. Thus, if you aren't seeking those YouTube tutorials as I mentioned before, you will inevitably fall into the trap of just rinse and repeating the same exact inputs with some vice maybe here and there in the form of one good timed spiritual pressure move or 2. Thus, making the gameplay feel at times very repetitive and not exciting whatsoever. What really creates that excitement is the transformations and different abilities that each character has, on top of the feeling of versing and defeating crazy strong characters such as Isaac, Kyura, Kenpachi, etc. Next, the online modes, or more specifically, ranked, is not the best when it comes to netcode, finding matches, and downright just getting an opponent that has a decent connection. Since, from my experience, when in ranked, most of the time it is just luck of the draw, if you're gonna get an opponent that has a good internet connection or not. And sometimes even if you'll get an opponent in the first place, since in free match for example, I couldn't find barely to no matches, so I primarily was forced to play ranked. Third, private lobbies aren't what you think that means. In the context of Bleach Rebirth of Souls, that just means you'll get a lobby where you can do 1v1, you versus just one other person, rather than what you should be expected of this feature is to allow multiple people to join. Thus, you could all play together with your friends, or better yet, host a proper tournament. Fourth, the story mode is fairly decent, where the clips I showed at the beginning of the video were from the story mode. However, there are many aspects for which Bleach Rebirth of Souls cuts corners while adapting the story, especially in the first chapter, where certain scenes are just black screens of text, such as whenever Karin or Yuzu are mentioned, or in the Soul Society arc, it is just drawings depicting the meaning and training with Shiba Kuka, and many of the Vice arts aren't present, there only being 3D models made for Shinji, Hiyori, and Hachi, with the rest of them being either written out or only mentioned in just one short drawing in a cutscene. So you can already see where the part of the story just being decent comes from. Not to mention, the story only goes up until the final battle against Isaac, without anything from the Fullbring arc or Thousand Year Blood War arc even being mentioned, even though they released Ichigo's Thousand Year Blood War version as a playable character and added costume sets for all the characters that were in Thousand Year Blood War, but never bothered adding any characters from that arc. Also, forgot to mention, there is filler present in the story mode, specifically in the beginning and before the end of the Vizard arc. For me, that is just the biggest negative possible, because I'm not a fan of filler content. But some of you out there may enjoy it, and then you can get some unique filler content in those sections. In my opinion, what should have they done instead of doing that is put more money into making the story mode actually be adapted like it was in canon. Finally, the offline modes are overall decent in terms of allowing you to play against other characters. For example, there is a training arena to learn new characters, and there is timed gauntlets with 3 varying difficulty levels. But in order to unlock all of them, you need to play the story mode, which can be quite a hassle sometimes. Honorable mention, there is some missing content that is only in the story mode and offline modes, but not in the main game, such as unique battle banter that is seen in story mode fights, but aren't present in online modes, as well as scene transitions where performing a keycon move or a finisher move will shift to a new area. Not to mention, certain parts of the canon story aren't in the actual main story aspect. You have to experience them within the what is known as secret stories for a specific character. The best example I can give of this is for how in Urahara's secret story, you get to see actually the Turn Back the Pendulum arc to a certain extent. It's a bit dumbed down and way more simplified and certain characters are just removed. However, it was put into there rather than into the main story, where just the Turn Back the Pendulum arc in the context of the story mode was just a brief narration made by Shinji with some 2D drawn pictures. Now, as all of you can see, Bleach Rebirth of Souls is not a good fighting game by any means, but it is a pretty good Bleach game, where most fans can find something that they enjoy about this game, from its characters, to gameplay, to story mode, music, animation, and art style. Thus, hopefully, if you are a Bleach fan, then you might want to buy this game, or at the very least, give it a fair try, and if you don't like it, you just refund it. Thank you to all who have watched up until this point. It really means a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, drop a like, and if you want to see more similar types of videos, let me know in the comments down below. And finally, you all know the next line, subscribe down below if you want to further support me. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.